Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Hey there, welcome to another MemoPod with me, your host Peter Heck. It is great to have you with us, and it's starting to come together, is it not? Is it not? I told you, now this is still primitive because, again, I'm gone this week, so this is being pre-recorded. So the whole time that I should have been working and preparing this, I was with, well, no, I shouldn't have been doing it. I should have been with my family. But I haven't been taking the proper time to prepare this week. So this is still primitive, but I want you to check this out. Okay, first of all, we've got the head. By the way, if you're listening to this MemoPod, none of this is going to make any sense to you. But what I'm doing right now, I am turning off the full frontal camera. You see how that went out? Oh, say that is not good. It's not bad. Then I turn it back on. Yo, there I am. My face bigger than life. I can dim it. Yeah, what do you think of that? Darker skin tone. Then we've got the side cameras over here. I can power that thing off. See, a little darker. And then power this thing off over here. Oh, now we're super dark. Now it's just the face camera. Looks like I got a flashlight on me is what it looks like. All right, now we're going to power these guys back up. Yep. So there they are. And we've got the backlights. Did you see the backlights back there? I should have turned these off. It's like green. You see the green? And that's going to become more powerful too. So we can have different, for my moods. You'll know you want to tune in to the MemoPod when that thing's red back there. Remember when Biden gave the speech with the red backdrop and he looked like the Emperor from Star Wars? It was great. All right, powering these guys back up. Let's see if I can blow my lights here the first week that I got them. But anyway, so it's all coming together. I still don't have a name for this corner of the room where I am now recording MemoPods, but it's really coming together. I got to get some shelves in here. Poop. I didn't get the acoustic pads up either. That's my fault. You're going to notice a huge difference in sound here in just a second. Yeah, you're probably not going to notice it at all. But I need these acoustic pads up, the temporary ones, just big foam pads behind the microphone and whatnot to cut down on the echo. That's going to fall off, isn't it? You can tell how well I'm prepared here. Anyway, okay, so now we're set. So this is it. This is going to be the new corner, and I'm excited about it, and it's great to have all of you along. Now, like I just kind of said here at the beginning a moment ago, this is a vacation week for me. And so I said this last week on the MemoPod, and I need to say it again now in case you missed last week's, and you're wondering, you're tuning in because some big world event happened. And you're wondering why I'm not talking about it right off the bat. Maybe it was something grave, something serious. I don't know. God forbid it be something like that. But if it was, okay, I'm pre-recording this like a week out. So I'm not going to be talking about things that have just happened. Now I'm talking about things that I think are significant and important and are kind of evergreen. Meaning, of course, that they are always issues that need to be discussed. But if you're looking for breaking news or something like that took place, it's not going to happen on this one. It'll happen next week when I'm back for the full week and all that. Okay. Also, some exciting stuff that happened in my personal life I will talk about on next week's MemoPod. Not professional life. Nothing that if you're just a free subscriber and you're here for the quality content which you have gotten several minutes of already. If that's why you're here, then you're not going to care. But those of you who are paid subscribers, who have an intimate view of my life, and we share that with one another, you may be interested to know. So that'll come up next week on the Memo Pod. I want to start off with this. Just alarming statistics, but it's something that a lot of us knew was going to happen. I have been blessed with the opportunity to speak at a number of pregnancy resource centers throughout the country. They have fundraising banquets, and what happened was several years ago, I had emceed one, a very large one in Indianapolis, because of a connection that I had through the radio show and all of that. So I emceed the banquet there, and the executive director, Tom Chevlot, a friend of mine, had said, "Look, man, you ought to go and do like a workshop at CareNet." Because what CareNet is, it's like the national, it's all the pregnancy resource centers. A lot of them are affiliated under CareNet. And so they have this resource convention every year where they go and they get new ideas and their speakers and their workshops. He said, a lot of the stuff that you have to share could really encourage the folks there. So I signed up, I applied, and I went and I did a workshop, and it went well. And so then I applied for the next year, and they said, yeah, you had good reviews, come back and do it again. I did that for a few years, and then I got to be on the main stage. And it was during the COVID year, so I'm looking at a bunch of people that are all separated with masks. It wasn't exactly the same kind of audience, but it was a neat opportunity. So I went and did that. And so because of the CareNet thing, I've been able to contact and be in contact with a lot of pregnancy resource centers and their executive directors who don't like going through speakers bureaus and just want to contact a speaker and say, hey, we'd love to have you. So I get the opportunity to do a lot of those, and I love it. It's like it's pretty much my favorite event to do because I believe in that cause. But one of the things that I always try to do, and I think that this should be commonplace, but I know a lot of times when you hire like a big name speaker, somebody who's going to come in and draw people in simply because of their name, which, by the way, if you're running a banquet, a fundraising banquet, that isn't always the best move because you have to account for the people that are coming to hear the speaker. That's great, but they're also not likely to give a whole lot because they're not invested in your ministry. And maybe the speaker will inspire them, but a lot of times the big name speakers are going to come in with a canned speech they've already got ready. It's not really going to have anything to do with the center. So they're not going to inspire people to give necessarily. They may not even cover the cost of their meal. So you got to be careful with all of that. But anyway, like I was saying, I don't know that big name speakers will come in and have time to tour the facility, but it's one of my favorite things to do because to me, if you get to know, at least briefly, the people that you're speaking on behalf of, it becomes a lot easier when you see their heart and their dedication to the cause to be able to speak from your heart. To me, you see the various facilities, you see the various needs, the features of their center. To me, that's the way to go. And so I always try to do that. So a few weeks ago, I find myself in the downtown facility in a center in Pennsylvania. Okay, so I'm in Pennsylvania, and I'm speaking with the executive director, and she conveyed to me how difficult it has become for their staff over the course of the last couple years. Okay, and a couple reasons for that. Number one, and you need to know this if you are somebody that looks at charitable giving and things of that nature. Number one, after Roe v. Wade was overturned with the Dobbs decision, there were a lot of folks that felt like, okay, we accomplished the goal, and so giving kind of slowed a little bit. Number two, because Dobbs overturned Roe v. Wade and some states banned the practice of abortion, these centers are seeing a lot more young women who are in crisis pregnancies because thankfully they haven't been able to go and just have the problem taken care of, but now they have pregnancy needs. So the needs have increased. The giving has decreased, and then there's also this. Some of the centers were getting state funds. They would apply for grants, and they would get state funds because they would jump through all the hoops that they were supposed to jump through. Well, the pro-abortion lobby has become so caustic and so angry post-Roe. Now that Roe v. Wade is no longer the law of the land, they're so angry and they're so motivated that they are using their abilities in those state legislatures to deprive those centers of any and all funds and to increase the hurdles and the obstacles that those centers have, which is really disgusting when you think about it. Because these are centers that are actually caring for young women. not using them to increase their bottom line. They're not making money off of them. They're relying on donations so that they can give things to women who are having children. It's astounding to watch it all take place, and the way that the media narrative is completely switched. So anyway, I'm speaking to this executive director, and she's explaining to me all of these obstacles that have been put in their way of reaching the and caring for women in crisis, the abortion-minded young woman. Very difficult now to reach them. And she pointed to the disastrous prevalence of the abortion pill. Now, I remember the executive director for Indiana Right to Life, Mike Fichter was his name, and I remember several years ago him saying to me in a private conversation, that's where all this is going. That's where this is going to be soon. It's all going to be telehealth, where a Planned Parenthood doctor simply prescribes an abortion pill, and they can go and they can pick it up, and they take it home, and it's a do-it-yourself abortion there at home. But the girl has no concept of what the consequences are going to be. She has no medical counseling as far as what the effects are going to be, and that's exactly what is unfolding. Now, this executive director was telling me the so-called chemical abortion is Planned Parenthood's dream. And why? Because the overhead costs associated with surgically killing a child, you got to pay for all those facilities and everything, and certainly in some states where they required you to actually have a clean facility, medical grade facility, in order to perform this invasive surgery on women, that made it very cost prohibitive. But the abortion pill allows the child killing industry, you simply disseminate drugs, do the trick remotely, even through these telehealth consultations. So it's very little fuss for Planned Parenthood. They just make the money off of the whole deal. You don't need the elaborate consultation. You don't need to let anyone be aware of the potential complications. You don't need to let anybody know of what's actually happening. This pill permits women to be manipulated into what they believe is discreet child killing. And what are the results? The results are horrific. Obviously, you have the baby's life that is lost, but the number of women's lives who have been ruined is astounding and ever increasing. The director told me just days before I arrived there, their center had taken a call, and the call was from a panicked young woman. Nobody that had been in their clinic before. She had taken the abortion pill that had been prescribed to her by the Planned Parenthood that was on the other side of town. She had severe abdominal pain, which she hadn't been told about. She went to the bathroom thinking that might alleviate her pain, and when she stood up from the toilet, and I don't mean to shock anybody, I don't mean to gross anybody out, she stood up from the toilet, she turned, and she saw in the water of the toilet a tiny human. It was her dead daughter in the toilet water. And this is a teenage mother, and she is horrified to see her daughter's face, because she'd been told by the telehealth consultant from Planned Parenthood, she'd been told that all she's carrying is just a non-feeling clump of cells. That's all this is. But there in her toilet, she saw that lie in all of its horror. And the ED, the executive director, told me that this girl was asking them in a panic, almost in a frantic state, do I flush her? Do I try to fish her out? Notice, she knows it's her little girl. That's how developed the baby was. What do I do with her when I get her out of the toilet? These were the questions that this horrified girl was asking the pregnancy center. Now, I asked the most logical question of all, why did she call you guys? She wasn't a client of yours. You had never seen her before. Why didn't she contact the people who provided her the pill? And I knew the answer, but I wanted to know if I was correct, and I was. Planned Parenthood wants to have nothing to do with these women if complications arise. It's bad for business. They tell them, go seek medical attention if you're having problems. This isn't common. This must be a you problem. And that's the testimony, by the way, that I've heard more than a few times, both from pregnancy centers who have experienced it from their perspective, and I've heard from women. It's weird to think of them that way. 2 former students have told me what they have experienced. One of them is a lady from my church who had an abortion several years ago. And she told me the same thing. She said, we were consumers to them. She and the person that had gone with them. We were consumers. They got my money, and that was it. And it's that reality, coupled with the love and the concern that I see firsthand in these clinics, in these pregnancy centers now around the country, and even in Canada. I've gone to Canada and done some for the pregnancy centers there. It makes it unconscionable to me. It actually makes me angry. If anything is going to make me angry, this is one of those things. This is the turning over the money changers tables feelings for me. To hear the media parrot the abortion lobby's claim, these centers don't care about the woman, they only care about the baby. I mean, nothing could be further, can you tell I'm getting a little agitated? Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, see if I can change this to red. You can't really see it, can you? If I turn it to red. What if I turn these off? Can you see the red back there, the anger? It's building. Yeah. Just kind of took myself out of the moment, didn't I? Sorry, they're back on now. But it does. Nothing is further from the truth. And this account from Pennsylvania it demonstrates it. Had it not been for a pair of Christians who work there at this particular center, that poor young woman, she would have suffered through that traumatic bathroom scene alone. And who knows what she would have done. Now, from my understanding, I could be wrong, but I think the counselors from that center went out to the woman's house to help her with everything. But they don't care about the woman. I mean, what were they going to gain at that point in time? If all they cared about was the baby was in the toilet. Planned Parenthood had chalked up another kill. Yeah, it's not the pregnancy centers that don't care about women. It's pregnancy centers that welcome these women in, encourage them to bring their baby daddy. Bring them in. Let's involve this. Let's have a family unit here. Volunteers to pray with them if the woman chooses for something like that. Allows them to take parenting classes and earn bucks that they can use, dollars that they can use in their store. And all of that's donated items that have gone to that. Donated items from Christians, from churches, from charitable people. But they don't care about women. It's amazing to me to see women in those places exchanging the baby bucks that they made for attending a parenting class, and they're getting their first car seat, essentially in their mind for free. And they got tears streaming down their eyes because they could never afford something like that. But these centers, they don't care about women. It's the most disgusting thing in the world. Now, is it anecdotal, the story I just told you? Yeah, it is. But consider it in light of the news that the site that I write for, Not the Bee, just reported this. New Guttmacher Institute research. Okay, and remember, the Guttmacher Institute used to be associated with Planned Parenthood. I think they've separated, but it's a pro-abortion shill agency and all of that. The monthly abortion provision study, it shows that there were approximately 642,700 medication abortions in the United States in 2023. That is 63% of all abortions are now done through medication, the abortion pill. Okay, you go back to 2020, it was 53%. It's a 10% jump in just a couple years. So make sure you follow what that means. 642,700 babies were murdered by their own mothers completely legally. Abortion pill sales are banned in a few states, but you have out-of-state purchasing. If it's banned in Indiana, you just go across the border into Illinois and you get it there. There's no real blocks on the abortion pill, which means there's no safety regulations. And for the left and the progressive movement that loves regulations for the sake of safety, that's astounding. That you have young women who are going through traumatic events like the one that executive director described to me. Horrific situation. But we don't need to regulate that. Government doesn't need to be involved. It's not a place for a doctor. That's not a place for the government. Just a woman and her doctor. 642,700 chemical abortions provided by doctors. That's provided by doctors. So there's no official count on the self-managed abortions. Could be much higher than that. And that much higher, when I say that, this is what I want to stress. That doesn't just mean more dead kids. It does mean that, but it doesn't just mean that. It also means more traumatized and more grieving mothers. It means more devastated families. And it means more work for all of us who care for all of them. That's what I would say to those of you who are watching, those of you who are listening, who share my belief that all human life is precious and worthy of protection, not because of what it does, not because it's wanted by other human beings. That's not where you get your value. Kids that I have in class who have better home lives, whose parents take an interest in them, their life is not worth more than the kids whose parents don't even seem to know their names and never care where they are. That's not what makes life valuable and worthy of protection. What makes it valuable and worthy of protection is that it's a human life that bears the image of Almighty God. That isn't a Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal issue. That's the reality of what is and who we are. And that being made in the image of God is true for the next Einstein, and it's true for the next Down syndrome baby. And we'd be better off as a culture if we all realized that. You can let me know your thoughts either in the comments section below here, or you can email me, peter@peterheck.com. That is peter@peterheck.com. I'm going to go back to green, even though you can't really see it yet. Like I said, the lights will be getting better. They'll be getting brighter. Promise you that. peter@peterheck.com is the email address. Now, for those of you who are free subscribers, I got to leave you here. But for those of you who are paid subscribers, a really important, because what we're building is a community of Christians, iron sharpening iron. We're talking about issues that we're facing in the culture and how to do it from a Christian perspective. How we can do it through the eyes of faith. How we can be salt and light and rebellious beings in this culture that's going down the proverbial toilet. And so I want to talk to you about trans ideology. Transgender ideology. Because I hear a lot of people say, oh, well, trans ideology is evil. Trans ideology is demonic. We use that phrase. It's an appropriate phrase. But I'm not sure people actually understand how accurate it is. Yeah, I'm talking about Satan. I'm talking about the devil. And this is something that if you're a non-Christian, hey, you may not get. You might even scoff at it. But for those of us who are believers, who know the truth, whom the truth has set free, then we need to talk about a couple things here. Because I'm not sure we've completely made, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, maybe you have, but I'm not sure we've completely made the connection here to what is going on. And I want to make sure that we do. Now, some of you who are free subscribers, you need to hear this. You need to be involved in this, and you need to help spread the word, but you got to be equipped to do it. That's why. Would love it if you would join us. You can do it right now in the email. Just click the link. $10 a month is all it is. Or $100 for the year. That's it. $100 for the year. You get $20 off what would be the monthly price, and you can cancel anytime. Just think about it. Give it a shot. And if you don't, I'll see you next week. If you do, and to the rest of you who already have, I'll see you right after this.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonigal's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, The Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.